Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We've got a lot of topics to talk about today, news that broke over the weekend, and today, kind of like drinking from a fire hose. But before we get started, if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing. That is the best way to let me know you enjoy this content. Now let's get started. So first up, I would say is probably the biggest news of the day, and including the weekend, is that Sony is buying Bungie. Let's take a look at a tweet here from Jason Schreier. It says, Sony is buying Bungie, the maker of Destiny, another seismic gaming deal that comes just 2 weeks after Microsoft purchased Activision Blizzard. Now this deal is for $3.6 billion, which is a lot, but not nearly as much as the deal with Microsoft and Blizzard. So looking through some of Bungie's intellectual properties, the first thought that came to my mind is Halo, and then I'm like, wait, no, they don't own that anymore. Microsoft actually owns that. But here recently, the only thing they've really been releasing is the Destiny series. Now they do also own Myth, but I don't think that's been released in, 30 years maybe. Now Bungie can work on other intellectual properties that Sony owns, but we might have a little better idea of what they're looking at here. Let's take a look at this tweet from Christopher Dring. It says, motivation behind Sony's acquisition of Bungie is to help boost their own ability to make live service multi-platform games. Equally, Sony unlocks the potential to Bungie to strengthen its technical capabilities, the prospect of taking its games to movies and TVs. The deal was in the works for the past 5 to 6 months and is not a reaction to the Take-Two and Microsoft deals. But what he says next I found probably the most interesting. And Jim Ryan told me, quote, we should expect more, end quote, when it comes to further PlayStation acquisitions. So overall, it looks to me like maybe Sony was looking to grab some of these intellectual properties. They may use them for movies, TV shows. I guess maybe we're going to see a Destiny movie or TV show, who knows. But the most interesting part to me is the fact that he states that we should expect more acquisitions. So I don't think this is puffery from Sony just trying to maybe steal some of the thunder from Microsoft and their recent acquisition, but I guess time will tell. What do you think? Do you think this is a good move? I just happen to envision the Sony executives walking around Bungie Studios and seeing a poster of Halo and thinking, or even speaking out loud, oh, we own that now, don't we? Speaking of Halo, we have a new trailer for the TV series that's going to be on Paramount+. I'll put a link in the description if you want to check out the full trailer, but it looks really interesting. I'm looking forward to watching it, although I've never played the Halo series, but I think that's on my list that I may have to complete before this comes out. And while we're talking about TV shows, we have a little bit of an update for the Cuphead series that's coming to Netflix. This comes to us from Animation Magazine. In an article it says, given that the show is available on Netflix, the standard half-hour packaging format of network or cable shows was ignored. Even maintaining consistent episode length was not an issue. We were originally using the old theatrical shorts as a model for structure, but we found it was hard to stay within the 7-minute format. These stories wanted to be a little longer, so it caps off at something like 10.5 to 11 minutes, though each episode is a little different in running time. Some of the initial 36 episodes will premiere over 3 separate drops, are presented as 2 and even 3-parters. So I guess in a quick summary, it looks like these Cuphead episodes are going to be 10 to 11 minutes, and I guess they're going to be calling it 3 seasons, since it says 3 separate drops. But the show definitely looks interesting, and I'm looking forward to watching this as well. The first drop of episodes is scheduled to come out February 18th. Now in a bit of a news that I don't really follow that much, there was an update on the GeForce NOW streaming app. This comes to us via blogs.nvidia.com, and it says, the GeForce NOW app is fully releasing on select LG TVs following a successful beta. To celebrate the launch for a limited time, those who purchase a qualifying LG TV will also receive a 6-month priority membership to kick off their cloud gaming experience. Now, I've never used this service. I don't know of anybody who uses this service, but I know when it got announced, it seemed pretty exciting and the technology seemed to look pretty good. If you've tried it out, let me know what you think. I've had limited success with streaming game apps. Maybe this will be a little different. And in a different blog post from PlayStation over at blog.playstation.com, it's announced that there'll be a new state of play, this time dedicated directly to Gran Turismo 7. It says, the first 2022 state of play arrives later this week, and we are all revved up for just over 30 minutes of new PS5 footage and gameplay details for Gran Turismo 7. I'm a pretty good racing fan, and I enjoyed the Gran Turismo games I've played in the past, so I'm looking forward to trying this one as well. And also, speaking of games from the past, today marks the 25th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII, and to commemorate this, Sony has released 2 new logos for Final Fantasy VII. Let's take a look here at a tweet sent out by the Final Fantasy Remake account. Here's the first look at the brand new Final Fantasy VII 25th anniversary logos. We hope you're ready for next year. And while the new logos are cool, there's a little bit more information sent out too. They add on here, there will be even more Final Fantasy VII projects that started up after the remake coming in the future too. The team sees this 25th anniversary as a waypoint on our journey with Final Fantasy VII and will continue pressing ahead to even greater things. So this leads me to believe that they are definitely looking at turning Final Fantasy VII into a new franchise. I know it's kind of had that in the past. You would kind of have a few little spin-off games here and there. This sounds to me like they're going to go into even more depth and even more games in this series. I love this series, and I can't complain about more Final Fantasy VII in our future. Next, for those of you who are invested in the Nintendo 64 Switch Online, I know there was some disappointment when that came out. There were some issues with emulation, and one of the biggest things that many people found was that the controller pack was not even supported. So if you had a game that needed that feature in order to save something, you were just out of luck. But there was something interesting that came out. Some hackers dug around and found this. Here's how to enable controller pack in the config file for the game. This should be how it's done. So for those who aren't real familiar with programming, this is basically just calling in this feature that's already there. That code is already in the emulator, Nintendo just has it disabled. And here's where someone confirms that yes, this does indeed work, because you can see now they're able to save their ghost data in Mario Kart. Now the only reason why I can think that Nintendo would disable this on purpose is there could be some bug with an existing game out there that they were not ready to deal with. The interesting thing here is the only way you can do this is to hack your Switch, which many people are not willing to do, but it does give hope that in the future this feature will be re-enabled. So on our final bit of news here, I just have a little story that I found interesting. If you've not been following this, it's definitely something to look into. There are a group of fans out there who are reverse engineering the code for The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. Here's a snippet from Video Games Chronicle. It says, which successfully reverse engineered a version of Ocarina of Time into compilable C code. So let's take a little look at the preview videos they put out. I think the quality here looks pretty good, but you never know if they're leaving out something that obviously is still bugged, but the progress here is really cool. Now, one of the great things about a project like this is once they have a compilable C code of the game, they would be able to port it to pretty much any system out there, assuming the system has enough power to run it. Programmers would also be able to go in and manipulate the code and maybe make some changes and improvements. There was a similar Mario 64 reverse engineer project that did find some bugs in the game and was able to fix some slowdown issues that the game had, so I think especially in the water area. And in case anybody is wondering, yes, reverse engineering code is perfectly legal. What would not be legal is releasing assets with the code, such as the textures and music. Generally, you have to supply your own ROM in order to extract those things out and then inject them into the code. So what do you think? Do you think this is a cool idea? Are there any other topics that I talked about today? Because this was definitely a lot of information out today, a lot more than I was expecting, but I enjoy keeping up with gaming news and sharing my thoughts on it, as well as maybe showing you something that you haven't seen yet. If there's anything I covered here that you'd like to comment, please do so. I love reading them. I want to thank you for watching and be good.